Here to speak on behalf of the Kate May Fund is Maeve O'Leary Kelly. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Maeve, and I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Kate May Fund with Pam, current president of the fund. Thank you so much for having us. One day in 2015, as a recent college graduate, I was hanging out with my parents, as only the most mature college graduates do, as we arrived in the Bronx to see St. Ignatius School for the first time. I remember it was a cold and gray November day, but what we experienced when we walked through the doors was an oasis of warmth and vibrancy. I found myself reminiscing on my own middle school days, of embracing the joy of learning and fostering connections with teachers and classmates alike. In figuring out what I would say tonight, I dug through my old emails to find one from my father, Kevin O'Leary, to the larger Kate May Fund group after our visit. My dad, who passed away this spring, had a passion for education that carried him from Georgetown undergrad to Nicaragua, where he built schools, to law school, to fatherhood, always a champion of intellectual curiosity. Unsurprisingly, he had a very similar reaction to visiting St. Ignatius School and had written, and I quote, "Sanctuary is the best word to describe the feeling of the safe, nurturing environment these students experience." He continued, "Two students, Adolfo and Naomi, showed us around the 3-story school. We were impressed and moved by the place, the kids, and by Dan O'Driscoll, the president who has been serving there on a volunteer basis for the last 3 years. Great woman," he added. My dad always said it best. And the connections at St. Ignatius, we learned, don't end once the students graduate, but continue through high school and beyond through their graduate support program. The school is invested in their lives beyond middle school, much like the members of the Kate May group have been for me and my sisters our entire lives. As someone on the receiving end of this attention, this is something I can get behind. The Kate May Fund has been a part of my life as long as I can remember because we were born right around the same time. In 1993, about a dozen years after their graduation from Georgetown University, my parents and their college friends, a group who'd bonded around their shared love of Father Otto Hens, S.J., the Georgetown professor who's here tonight, and by the way, still teaching, gathered together on the Jersey Shore for what had become an annual visit and created the Kate May Fund, a charitable organization that gives back to the institution in which they most believed and the one by which they found each other, education. In their early 30s, with some with demanding careers, some pregnant, some with little kids running around, they wanted to give back but didn't necessarily have the means to do it on their own. I can relate because I'm the same age now as they were then. So they pooled their gifts and connected with several deserving schools in challenging communities to give them to. Loyola Baltimore, Loyola High School in Detroit, Holy Name in Camden, New Jersey, the Cornelia Connolly School on the Lower East Side, and most recently, St. Ignatius School in the Bronx. I'm no economist, but this arrangement I've come to realize is what you'd call, excuse the financial jargon, a win-win. Donors' gifts have a more profound effect, and the schools can rely on one annual check, which significantly cuts down on outreach and correspondence with different donors year after year. The Kate May Fund has made nearly $1 million in gifts since its inception. My earliest memories of the Kate May Fund weren't of this group stealing themselves away in boardrooms for meetings, but of joyful, shared reunions that involved long homemade dinners and a certain group talent show in which my dad and Otto competed in an uproarious game of Chubby Bunny, a competition in which you read vocabulary words with marshmallows stuffed in your cheeks. I joined the board of the Kate May Fund this year because I found myself constantly inspired by this group and this project I've gotten to witness firsthand for the last 30 years, and inspired by that singular visit to St. Ignatius School back in 2015. And the very last line of the email I found from my dad was a ringing endorsement of a gift to a place like St. Ignatius School. He said, "Our report in summary is that you should feel good about our support for these schools and the difference they make in young people's lives. It's nothing short of transformative." Thank you.